ground. Oh, might be a way to stop that. Once you've got a feeling of the weight of your head on the ground, start to let your head roll from side to side. So Maria, hello, we're starting lying down when you're ready. So lying down onto your back, Maria. Good evening, hello, when you're ready. And we're letting the head roll from side to side a few times. If anyone here hasn't brought water with them and would like some, just let me know. Jan, would you like some?
No, not right now. Well, I would probably at some point, whenever it's convenient.
Yeah, I'll grab some. No, don't worry, that's fine. I'll grab you some. Rachel, have you got water? Would you like some? You sure? I can bring. If I get some from Jan, I'll get you some.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Jude, you've got some, haven't you? Okay. And then what I'd like you to do is bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. So settle your head down in a comfortable place in the centre. And then bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. Sam, hello. We're starting lying down. So when you're ready, Sam, we're lying down on our backs and we're going to move there a bit and then do some breathing. So start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And just carry on with that a little bit in your own time. I've just got to grab some water. I won't be long. So knees tilting to the right and to the left.
No, very wrong.
Rachel, I'll pop yours up there, and Jan, I'll put yours over here next to this with your arms in it. Okay, lovely. So a couple more times, let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And then one of the things we're thinking about tonight is the two sides of our body, and I suppose the two sides of ourselves as well. So what I keep your right knee bent and lengthen your left. And just take a moment to settle there. You could let a breath come in, let a breath leave. Right knee tilt a little bit, in and out. That's it. Good. Good. And then from letting your knee tilt from side to side, then stop tilting your knee and settle your foot down on the floor. And we're going to come to that pressing movement. So the movement where we press into our right foot, we let the right side of our pelvis come away from the floor. Might be good at this point if you just let your arms be sort of heavy by your sides. That's it, good. And repeat this movement a few times. So pressing into your right foot, let the right side of your pelvis come away from the floor. That's nice. So your pelvis tilts towards the left. That's good. Your left leg can roll a bit on the floor towards the outer edge of the leg. And what also might be helpful, I find it quite helpful, is to be pressing into my foot as I exhale. Good. Very nice. Okay, and then we'll carry on with this movement. We're going to change the arms. So the next time your pelvis comes back down onto the ground, you're going to cross your arms over your chest with your right arm on top. That's it. So as you exhale, now press into the right foot. Then the arm was right the first time. That's it, yeah. Press into your right foot and let yourself roll across your upper back. That's it, good. That's very nice. Oh, but you don't let your knee roll over to the left. That's it. Keep thinking, and everyone the same. Keep thinking about your knee moving forwards. So the knee moves forwards over the foot, but you roll across, your pelvis tilts to the left. You roll across your upper back, so your weight comes towards the back of your left shoulder. And you're really nice with the head, letting the head roll to the left as well. Good. Oh, Rachel, if you cross your arms like this, so that's it. The right arm's on top. That's the one. Good. Good. And just repeat this a few more times. And again, it might be helpful to feel that it's your out breath is when you move. So you sink into that foot, you roll across your upper back as the breath leaves you. Okay, just do this once or twice more. Lovely. And then you can uncross your arms and maybe lengthen that right leg out and just lie long for a moment on the floor. And feel the breath come in, feel the breath leave you. Feel the length of yourself on the ground. And then when you're ready, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So you're going to bend your left knee, you're going to stand your left foot on the floor. Again, maybe let your arms come to rest by your side to start with. And start that first movement, so the pressing into the left. Oh no, the first movement was tilting, wasn't it? A few times. Just let that left knee tilt to the right and to the left. That's it. And the reason why you're doing this is so that when you start the pressing movement, you're not letting your knee tilt. So let your knee tilt now. Have a feeling of how that is. So when your knee tilts from side to side, your weight rolls towards the outer or the inner edge of your foot. Now you're going to start pressing into your foot. And you want to feel that the whole of the footprint stays planted on the ground. So you're not letting your knee tilt to the right or to the left. You're exhaling, you're pressing down into that footprint, you're letting your pelvis roll tilt towards the right. Rachel, if you feel that your pelvis is rolling onto your hand, you might want to slide your hand a bit more out to the side. I don't know. And it might be quite nice, but if it feels like it's getting in the way. Very nice. So just maybe repeat that a couple more times. Pressing into your foot. That's it. Letting your pelvis move. Very nice. Tilt towards the right. And then when your pelvis comes back to the ground, you can cross your arms over your chest again. This time your left arm comes on top. Good. And just repeat the same movement now. Pressing into the left foot. Good. And then rolling across your upper back. So you're letting your weight rock towards the back of your right shoulder. You're letting your head roll towards the right. That's nice. And again, maybe you're doing this all on an out breath. Good. Really nice. Exhaling down into that foot. And then the movement travels up the body. You roll across your upper back. So just once or twice more, whatever you like. And I always find these movements quite sort of calming and soothing, as well as releasing, emotionally, as well as my body. It's a good easing that tension across the upper back. So that's nice. When you're ready, when you've finished, you can uncross your arms, you could lengthen your leg out on the floor. Or bend both knees, yeah. So what I'd like you to do now is just lie however's comfortable. Both legs could be long or both knees could be bent. So just choose which you prefer. And we're just going to come to a movement for the upper body on its own now and see how that feels. And then we're going to come to a little bit of breathing. So you're going to take your arms up towards the ceiling and you're going to make a big circle with your arms over your chest, interlinking your fingers. That's it, Emma, very nice. You make a big circle, Maria. Yours is something particularly circular. Imagine you're holding a beach ball on your chest. Yeah, you've got to try, Maria, you've got to try it. That's it. Make a circle, interlink your fingers, make a circle. That's it, good. And then you're going to start to rock across your upper back. So your circle is rocking to the right and to the left. And keep your hands over your chest. Let your head roll from side to side. And if your knees are bent, don't let your pelvis move. So we're just doing this movement in the upper back. So it's a bit of a massage for us between the shoulder blades, in the upper back. Try and keep nice and soft and relaxed in your jaw. You can either follow your hands with your eyes or you can close your eyes and just feel the movement in your upper back. So you can rock from side to side a few more times, 2 or 3 more times. And then let your arms come to rest. And now I'd like you to let your arms come to rest on the floor beside you. And I'd like you to take your arms maybe wide enough away from your body that you can comfortably turn your palms up towards the ceiling. That's it. Can you rest the backs of your hands on the floor? Oh no, but keep them by the sides of your body, Jude. That's it. Keep the arms by the sides of your body, but turn your palms up. And we're going to do a little breathing exercise where we're coordinating our breath with the position of our hands. So as you breathe in, you're going to do like this with both palms turning up. And then as you exhale, you're going to start by turning just your right hand down as you exhale. And then as you breathe in, turn that hand back up again. So you're breathing in with both palms facing upwards. And then as you exhale again, turn your left palm down. Good. And then you breathe in, you turn that hand up again, so both palms are up. And just keep going from side to side. So you exhale now and turn your right hand down. And then as you breathe in, you turn that hand back up again, so both palms are facing up. Next exhalation, you turn your left hand down. And then as you breathe in, let the hand turn up again. Just carry on with this for a few more cycles of breath. So the inhalation, both palms are facing upwards. When you exhale, you're alternating, turning one hand down. And just as much as possible, try to sort of roll your hands on the floor. So you're making the movement as effortless as possible. Sort of rolling through the outer edge of your hand. Good. So I'd like you to do this twice more on each side. So each hand is going to turn down twice more. And I find it very hard to count these things, even if it's only like 2 or 3 times. So don't worry if you get lost. And when you finish, just so I know that you finished in your own time, you can bring your hands to rest on your belly. That's nice. So feel the movement of your breath in your belly for a couple of cycles of breath. And if your legs are long, I'd like you to bend your knees now. Good. And just before we come off our back, we're going to do a few leg stretchy things. So what you're going to do now is fold your right knee into your chest and just have a breath or two holding around your right knee. And then from here, you can extend your right leg to the ceiling. You could give it a shake out to start with. You could maybe then catch onto that leg somewhere. So you might hold around the back of your thigh, interlink your fingers. You might want to hold your ankle or your shin or even your big toe. You could do a bit of circling into your ankles. So that's quite nice. It's probably, if you want to circle your ankle, it's probably better not to hold your big toe. You could also point your toes, point your heel. Good. And then just let that knee fold back in towards your chest. So the right knee's come back in towards your chest, and you're going to lengthen your left leg out on the floor and give the left leg a roll. And then come back to taking your right leg up to the ceiling once more and see how that feels. And again, you could shake your leg out. I'm just giving you a few suggestions. You could slap your thigh, the front, the back, the calf. I don't know if that feels nice. Don't do it if you don't like it. And you could also just have a few breaths. I mean, there's a couple of options here. We could be bending. We could be bending that right knee quite a lot and sort of catching onto our foot or our ankle. So it's a bit more like lunge on our back. Or we could be straightening the leg up towards the ceiling and rocking the leg side to side in the hip joint. That's another option. We give you too many options. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, very nice. Good. That's it. And then when you've had enough with that right leg being raised, just lengthen it out on the floor and have 2 long legs for a moment. Good. That's it. Lengthen both legs out. Let the breath come in. Let the breath leave you. Have both legs long on the ground. Good. And then once again, bend both knees. Stand both feet on the floor. And then fold your left knee into your chest. And have a breath or 2 holding around your left knee. Let the breath come in. Let the breath leave you. And then you can take that leg up to the ceiling. Give it a shake out. So when you've just got all these different things you can do when your leg's up in the air, you can hold obviously on to your leg in some way, interlink your hands around the back of the thighs, quite good. We can circle the ankle, we can point the toes, point the heel. If we like slapping our legs, we can do it now. Option. Depends what you've been doing. And sometimes it's just nice to stretch into your heel and then relax the leg. Stretch into the heel, relax the leg. So really whatever feels good. And then we can fold that left knee back into the chest and let the right leg lengthen out on the floor. And it's quite nice to lie just like this for a moment where your right knee's folded in and your left leg is long. I think it's your left knee's folded in, isn't it? Your right leg's long, sorry. And then you can take your left leg towards the ceiling. And yeah, you could, with a long leg, you could let your leg rock from side to side. So yeah, I think if you're going to rock your leg from side to side, it's better to do that with the leg fairly long and straight. But you could also play around with bending your knee towards your chest, catching your ankle or your big toe or your foot. So it's a bit like you're doing a lunge on your back. Those are just a couple of options. Yeah, and I was just thinking, because in this, you know, it's not so hot today, but it's still very humid. In this warm weather, it's really nice to have our legs up. And then whenever you've had enough of this leg being up, you're going to lengthen that leg onto the floor. Lie with 2 long legs. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then bring your attention down to your feet. And I'd like you to stretch your heels away from you. And try to imagine, if you stretch your heels away from you, try to imagine that you're in standing. So can you stretch your heels and imagine your feet are on the floor? And from here, we're actually going to come over into standing. So I'd like you to imagine you're in standing for another couple of breaths. And then you're going to make your way in a comfortable, easy way over into standing. So however you wish, you're going to make your way up into standing. Good. And then once you arrive in standing, I mean, I always like to look at my feet. You don't have to look at your feet, but yeah, that always helps me to settle. I just like you to come into standing and settle in standing. So if that involves looking at your feet, you can do. And once you're in standing, yeah, just settle. Yes, it might. There's lots of things we can do to settle. Could be shaking the arms out. Could be a little bit of swaying. We don't just have to sway from side to side. We could sway forwards and back a little bit. We could even sort of circle around our feet. And if you're swaying or circling a little bit, you could do this with your eyes closed. Whatever you're doing, try to keep your feet in contact with the ground. So I know sometimes if we rock forwards or back, we maybe pick our toes up without meaning to if we rock too far back. But yes, but you know, as much as possible, have the intention to keep your feet planted on the ground. Good. Okay. And then from here, we're going to see how it feels to go into a forward bend. So you can open your eyes if they're closed, and perhaps come into that sort of halfway forward bend where we bend our knees a little bit, we rest the elbows on the thighs. And if that all feels fine, you can then release your arms to the ground. It really depends on the lower back. So I often find that my first forward bends, I want to have my elbows on my thighs. But it might be that you're happy to go all the way forwards, release your arms down. And if you're in that forward bend, if you feel that you want to sort of swoop your arms from side to side around your feet, you could do. Again, it just really depends on what you feel, what would feel nice in your body for you right now. We'll have another cycle of breath in the forward bend, a cycle of breath or two, maybe being still in the centre, and then as you exhale, sink into your heels and roll up into standing. Or if your back's feeling a bit vulnerable, walk your hands up your thighs. Good. And then so I'm going to get you to come and stand in the middle of your mat, face the long edge of your mat like me, because we're going to swing our arms to the side. It's terribly exciting for me to actually be having to move people so they can swing their arms. Oh, but have a look at your feet when you come move them. Yeah, bring your feet back to normal. So hands in prayer pose in front of you. And we're going to do some swinging of the arms out to the side and just crossing them. That's it, crossing them in front of us. Good, that's very nice. And from here, you're going to then be giving yourself a hug. And if you do it with your right arm on top, first of all, then you're not going to have to think about left and right. So we, just like we did on our back, give ourselves a hug, one arm on top. And then here we can come on into this one, our eagle arms. So this old favourite, we can have a couple of breaths here. And then we're going to step the feet wider apart so that we can go into, I just always think it's more comfortable in this one if you go into a forward bend with the feet a bit wider. So you can sink into your heels and you can fold forwards. Again, you can bend your knees as much as you like. And at any point, you can release your arms. So sometimes that extra weight of the arms when they're crisscrossed like this helps to lengthen our spine out a bit more. But again, if you're not so keen on that, you just release your arms. That's it, release your arms. Give your head to the floor. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And then we'll sink into our heels and we'll roll back up into standing. Good. And maybe just have a little shake out of your legs and your arms. And then bring your feet back to being a smaller distance apart. So a sort of normal standing mountain pose, Tadasana distance, and hands back into prayer pose. And come back to letting a breath come in and then swinging your arms, crossing them in front of your body. Good. Very nice. And we'll be swinging our arms in a moment to give ourselves a hug with the left arm on top. So you don't have to worry about which arm it's going to be. So when you're ready, swing your arms, give yourself a hug, the left arm on top, let the shoulders drop down, and then come on into your eagle arms. And then again, like we did on the other side, we'll step the feet a bit wider apart, sink into your heels, and you're going to come forwards into your forward bend. So do you mind your feet a little bit wider than that, if you like, sinking into your heels, folding forwards, and again, whenever you want, you can uncross your arms, or you can keep your arms in eagle arms. But it's quite nice after you've had a few breaths of eagle arms to release your arms to the floor, to let your head go. Of course, you can bend your knees as much as you like. And then before you come back up, make sure you've released your arms, sink into your heels, roll back up again. Good. And have a little shake out. And then we're going to come to the back of our mats and we're going to come down into a little sequence of a forward bend and dog pose and add a few things into the middle. So each time we do this, we'll do something slightly different in the middle. So bring your hands into prayer pose at the back of your mat. Check your feet a little distance apart down and Rich, I think you've probably got room to swing your arms without hitting each other or anything else. So when you're ready, let a breath come in, and as you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Feel long and tall, that's nice. Drop your shoulders away from your ears and then gather your elbows in, roll down into a forward bend. You can have a breath or two there, and then you're going to be walking your hands on into dog pose whenever you're ready. And just, have a few breaths in dog. See how your dog feels. See what you want to do with your legs. You know, probably in these first few dog poses, we want to be bending our knees. Just breathing, settling, giving our bodies time to start to undo, particularly across the back of the shoulders. Letting the head hang. And from dog pose in a moment, we'll be coming down onto hands and knees. Very nice dog poses. everyone. Coming down onto hands and knees, settling on hands and knees, and we're going to do some cat and some tail wagging in your own time. So you can start with some cats. How does it feel to round your back to the ceiling, dip your spine to the floor? Rounding and dipping. Good. Letting your breath flow in and out. Nice. And then you can, if you like, add in a little bit of wagging. Imagine you have a tail and wagging your tail. So we can either wag our tail from side to side, or we could swing our lower legs from side to side. So this little fishes one, which has the same effect. It takes the pelvis from side to side. Now, it might be good to drop down onto your elbows for a few cycles, because we're going to do something on our hands, and maybe just give your wrists a little rest. Come down onto your forearms and your elbows and do a little bit more cat there. It's quite nice, particularly the rounded cat. And you can do a bit of tail wagging. It's quite nice down there. And then to carry on with our sort of animal-themed movements, we're going to come back onto hands and knees. And we're going to come into fox pose, which is the one where we take the opposite arm and leg forwards and back. And we just try to feel long and steady here. And it's one that's always surprises me how challenging it is. And we're looking down at the floor, sort of level with the fingertips that have remained there. You could point your back toes, or you could stretch into your back heel. Just see if you can have another breath or two on your first side. Good. Just feeling long from your heel or your toes to your fingertips. And then you can come back down and you can swap sides. So the other pair of opposites, arm and leg. Keeping your gaze down on the floor. And just try and see if you can be steady here. So the breathing helps here, really feeling the flow of your breath. Another breath or two. Well done. If that's possible, good, good. And then bringing your hand back and knee back down to the floor. You're going to round your back to the ceiling and stay rounded. Rock all the way back into child pose and settle down in child for a few quiet breaths. So really allow yourself to have a little bit of a rest now. As I was saying earlier, this humid weather can be really draining. So let yourself rest, let your elbows settle on the ground. Try to feel as soft and relaxed as possible through the shoulders. And feel the movement of your breath in your body. Feel the breath come in, feel the breath leave you. And then from child pose, when you're ready, you're going to be making your way through dog pose and a forward bend, and then we'll be rolling back up into standing. So coming into our second dog, you can come onto hands and knees, you can tuck your toes under, and when you're ready, rock your hips back and up into dog, and just see how that second dog pose feels. Again, bending your knees as much as you like, one knee, both knees. Letting your head go. Having a few breaths in your dog. Yeah. I think it always takes probably these 3 or 4 dogs until we really can settle in dog pose. So don't worry if it's still feeling a little bit tight or stiff. From your dog, you're going to be walking your hands in towards your feet. So all of your weight's in your feet. You're in your forward bend. You can let your head go. And then touch the backs of your hands together. So you're rolling up into standing, trailing your hands up the front of your body, all the way up to the ceiling. When you arrive in standing, you can be long and tall, let a breath come in and then exhale. Good. Oh, you're right there. Light footing, Rachel. Good. You can always turn around the other way on your lap. Let's go back down again. So we're going to go back down through that sequence, and then rather than fox, we'll do something else that I will reveal when we get down there. So when you're ready, at the back of your mat, hands in prayer pose, let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Feel long and tall. Drop your shoulders away from your ears, and then just gathering forwards, bending the knees, gathering the elbows in, down into your forward bend. You can have a couple of breaths there. And then again, walking forwards to dog when you're ready. And just, how does dog pose feel? It will take the time that it takes for dog pose to undo, to start to feel more easy in our body. Maybe it feels good already. Maybe there still feels there's a way to go. Of course, bending one knee, bending the other. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave. And just like we did on the other side of the sequence, we're going to be coming down onto hands and knees and doing some cat and some tail wagging. This is very much a point where you can choose what would feel good to your body. To do cat, to do tail wagging, you could add the two together if you like. And what we're going to be doing in a moment is plank pose. So again, if you wanted to drop down onto your elbows for a moment to take the work out of your hands, you could do. And that's, really depends how your wrists feel. You can still do cats. You can still do tail wagging down on your forearms. And then we'll think about coming into plank pose. So make sure you're far enough forwards on your mat that when you lengthen one leg out behind you, that it doesn't come off the back of your mat. So organise yourself with your shoulders over your wrists. And then it's very easy, isn't it? The first leg of plank, we just take it back there and our pelvis stays put. The second leg of plank, we're trying to leave the pelvis where it is and step that leg back. And then we'll just see, how is it to stay in plank? Can we stretch our heels back? Can we keep our shoulders over our wrists? Can we breathe? Good. Keep your gaze sort of level with your fingertips. And whenever you've had enough plank, it's making me feel very sweaty this evening. Whenever you've had enough plank, you can let your knees come down onto the ground, untuck your toes, fold back into child pose, and just let yourself settle down. Now, plank is good for lots of things, but there was an article in The Guardian, I don't know, talked the weekend about elbow plank being really good if you've got a bad back. And I was thinking, well, actually, I think child pose is possibly nicer for lengthening out your lower back than plank. Plank's good for lots of things, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily the best thing for lower back tightness. So just, in child pose, let yourself rest for a couple more breaths. So let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And then we're going to come back into standing through dog pose. Maybe this dog pose would be starting to feel quite nice. Dog pose, forward bend, rolling up into standing. So take your time to settle your hands down. If your shoulders are feeling tight, take your hands wide apart for dog. Tucking your toes under, rocking your hips back over your heels. Coming into your dog pose. And yes, I'm just thinking, yes, finally this dog pose is starting to feel. So give yourself a few breaths in dog. I'm just going to have a little look at everyone. Yes, looks really good. Yes, all those dog poses seem to be sort of undoing nicely. And so from dog, whenever you have had enough, don't need to rush, you can start to walk your hands in towards your feet. So we get that transfer of weight from the hands into the feet. So we come into our forward bend, we let our head go, feel our heels rooting into the ground, and then touch the backs of your hands together, rolling up into standing, taking your arms all the way up to the ceiling, feeling long and tall, but drop the shoulders down, and then exhale. Good. Okay, lovely. We're going to go down one more time through the sequence. We're going to do something different, and we're not going to come straight back up. We'll come back up after a few other things. So, hands in prayer pose. Let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Let a breath come in, and then starting to round forwards, bending elbows, bending knees, down into your forward bend. Enjoy a breath or two in your forward bend, and then again on into dog pose. Again, just, yeah, hopefully by now we can just really enjoy dog pose. Feel the movement of our breath through our body. Enjoy this feeling of the body sort of feeling more open and free. That's nice, good. Beautiful. And in your own time, coming down onto hands and knees. This time we're going to do some cat and tail wagging again, but then go into child pose. So just take your time on hands and knees. And maybe really paying attention to how your body feels in cat. So rounding your back to the ceiling. Dipping your spine down to the floor. How do these movements feel? If, when you're dipping your spine down to the floor or rounding your back to the ceiling, your lower back feels a little bit tight, then it's quite nice when you come into your tail wagging to round your back and then to wag your tail with a rounded back. Just see if that can help release tightness in the lower back. And yes, you can do any of those variations for your tail wagging where you're swinging your legs from side to side if you like. Good. And you could, if you don't do it too quickly, you could swing your lower legs from to the side and then look towards them, down the length of your body. Good. And feel how one side of your body is shortening and closing up, and the other side lengthening, so sort of concertina ring. Good. Very nice. And then let's just come into child pose. So round your back. So come into a rounded cat, and then keep that rounded back as you rock into child. So we really give ourselves this opportunity to lengthen out the lower back, to allow the lower back to lengthen out in child. Rest your elbows, rest your forehead. That's really nice. That is beautiful. Beautiful, really lovely. Good. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Now, I realised I meant to say when we were in standing to have a little water break. We're going to come and we're going to be doing some sort of a couple of pigeon variations. So if you want to have a little bit of a water break now before we move on to that and just grab a drink. Yes, or toilet break, but a comfort break, yeah. Tissue break, yes.
Maybe it's a high pollen.
It's high pollen. I've had, bad hay fever. Yeah, yes. So a little mini break, and then we're going to be coming into the pigeon pose variation, where you're bringing one knee forwards, but you're not taking the knee out to the side. You're just bringing your heel under its own buttock. And then we come and we sort of start to rock our pelvis from side to side. So this variation of pigeon, so you're starting off, it's a bit like you're in half of kneeling, rather than you're actually in pigeon yet. And you're down on your elbows, and you're just seeing how does it feel to rock your pelvis to the outside of your heel, and then towards the inside of your heel. So this sort of side to side, rather sort of snaky movement of the pelvis. It might be more comfortable if you tuck your toes under. So Maria, I've got my front leg like this, and then I'm sort of rocking side to side. I'm on my elbows, I'm rocking my pelvis to the right and to the left of my heel. So just make sure your front knee is going straight forwards. You're not sort of sitting down to the side of your leg. So if I go this way on, it might be clearer. I've got my front leg like this. I'm in half of kneeling is my starting point, and then I'm letting my pelvis rock from side to side. Now we will then take this on into pigeon. So if you wanted to take this on into pigeon, it would be when your pelvis is rocking towards the outside of your heel. And then you could, I'll go on to the other side. And then you could, so you've rocked your pelvis onto the outside of your heel. And if you let your weight come onto that bent front leg, you then might want to let your knee come a little bit more back so it's in line with the outer edge of your mat. So Jude, we're doing pigeon on the first side. Yeah. And then you can let your pelvis sort of roll over. You don't have to, you could stay a bit lopsided in pigeon, but you could let your pelvis roll over so the back of your pelvis is level. And you can have a few breaths in pigeon pose. And it's really up to you at this point what you do, whether you come down onto your forehead or whether you're resting on your elbows or whether you're coming up onto your hands, or you can, have a little play around with all of those. And obviously what's really important in pigeon is that we breathe well. We're going to obviously be breathing, aren't we? And Maria, think about your shoulders staying nice and relaxed, particularly if you walk your arms in, you've got to let the shoulders soften. Often they can get a bit tight there. Okay, if you're ready to come out of the pigeon, then you just see which leg is your front leg, because we need to do the other side. You're going to roll onto that front leg here. You could give your legs a little bit of a lengthen out, just you could go on your belly, which is quite nice. And then, yes, and then coming on to side 2. So you're going to start, so Jude, what we started with was doing this one, which is half of kneeling. So you've got your heel under your butt, under its own buttock, and the knee coming straight forwards. That's it. And you walk your back leg away a bit. That's it. Walk your back. Can you tuck your toes under and walk your back leg further back? That's it. That's it. Good. And then what you're doing is you're rocking your pelvis. Yeah, so the one I was doing is you start off, it's like you're in half of kneeling. So don't let your foot come over. Yeah, let your foot just go straight back behind you. And you're rocking your pelvis side to side over that heel. So let your pelvis rock to the outside of your heel and let your pelvis rock to the inside of your heel. And you're down on your elbows and you might have your back toe tucked under if that's helpful. But yes, basically that's what we're doing. We're sort of rocking from side to side. Good. And then, as we did on the other side, we can then take this into pigeon by rocking towards the outside. So let our pelvis come down on the outside of our bent front leg. So that's it. Your pelvis go all the way to the floor, Jude. That's it. That's it. So you're sitting over that leg. And then we might let this knee come back a little bit. That's it. And then we start to just roll our pelvis over towards pigeon, walk the back leg away. So what you might want to do at that point, Jude, is bring your front foot in front of your thigh now for pigeon. So organise your front leg so it's like a pigeon leg. That's it. Good.
Let's see. I'm just going to do it as
do
comes naturally.
Yeah, do it if you're do it in the way that comes more naturally. If that's working better. Good. And just coming into pigeon and having a few breaths there. Are you all right there, Rachel? Yeah. Good. You could be on your forehead or on your elbows. Good. Yeah, you could be doing a little bit of rocking of your pelvis from side to side. So there's lots of different ways to go into pigeon, and I just thought we've been doing a lot of going from we can come out by rolling onto our front leg, hip if we like. We've been doing a lot of going from pinwheel to pigeon, which is why we're just doing this slightly different way this evening. Okay. Now, so yes, we're going to come out from pigeon, rolling onto our front leg. And Rachel, you can then join us. We're going to just sit back, lean back on your arms and give your legs a little lengthen out. And then you're going to come into cobbler pose. And you can carry on leaning back onto your arms. And just see how cobbler pose feels. Yeah, so you could lean on your arms, you could hold your feet, you could do any sort of circling or rocking. Yes, I can see lots of nice rocking going on. What else could you be doing?
Yeah, cobbler pose.
Good. I like cobbler pose. And even better, we're going to do it twice. We're going to do it here in the middle of the room, and then in a little bit, we're going to do it with our back against a sofa or a wall, which can be quite nice as
I
well.
always remember, I always think when you say do cobbler pose, I think, oh no, because I find it quite difficult. But we've done lots of it and it does get a bit easier.
It does get a bit easier, doesn't it? I think pinwheel really helps make it a bit easier as well. Now, what we're going to do from cobbler pose now is if you lean back onto your arms, you're going to cross your ankles. So even if this isn't how you normally sit, yes, sort of crossed ankles, and then a bit of circling here. And so I wouldn't normally sit, it's probably like this at school, isn't it? I wouldn't normally sit with my ankles crossed. I'd probably sit more in a sort of half lotus. So it feels quite strange. And then you've got two options. So we can do a bit of circling. And then there's two things you can try. You can either lean back on your arms and just let your knees drop, or you can see what it's like to fold forwards in this one. So it really depends, yeah, which feels better. So there's either leaning back or there's folding forwards. And folding forwards, for me, is just always quite a nice stretch in my lower back, if my lower back's feeling a bit tight. Folding forwards. And it's just going to be, different for different of us. And then we'll try the same thing on the other side. So if you lean back on your arms and change the cross of your legs, so have the other leg in front. And then do a little bit of circling. Good. So probably if you're not used to sitting cross-legged, then if this feels even more strange, it's going to be the even less familiar side. And as we're circling, we're just sort of feeling, just giving ourselves a little bit of a massage into our hip joints. And then just as we did on the other side, we can either lean back onto our arms and sort of let the knees drop, let the knees feel heavy, good. And then you can also, fold forwards and see how that feels. So you want to leave your sit bones heavy, and then, we're just, where do you come to comfortably? And have a breath or two. How are we doing? Okay, and then finally for this little bit of sitting, lean back on your arms, lengthen your legs out, take your legs long and wide. And we won't stay here too long because we're going to come to this again with our back at the wall, which is usually a bit more comfortable. But I know some of you are quite keen on this. So you can lean back on your arms, you can roll your legs a little bit. That seems to be going on here. And some of you might even want to see what's it like to fold forwards a bit. That's very nice. Yeah, so this is one. That's quite nice, Jude. I like the little sort of almost like kitten steps forwards. This is one that's a bit easier when we're in this sort of hot weather. So that's why I thought we'd do a bit of it. We won't be here too long. Now, we're going to, in a moment, come back through dog pose, and you might want to do your one-leg dogs back into standing. We're just going to do a standing balance. And then we're going to come back and do some of this sitting at the wall and a bit more breathing. So when you're ready, come on your two hands and knees. So the one-leg dog pose is an option here. I just thought after that wide sitting, it might be quite nice, but it's really up to you. So you can tuck your toes under, rock your hips back over your heels. See how your dog pose feels for a couple of breaths. And then if you fancied your one-leg dog, by all means, you can give it a go. So there's different one-leg variations. I tend to like to roll my pelvis and reach up into my heel. It's just a way to feel really sort of alive and, alive, I suppose, in our bodies. Alive and awake. As awake as we can feel on a Thursday evening. And when you've done on both sides, you can then walk your hands in towards your feet into a forward bend. I'm just thinking how nice that forward bend feels. And we can roll up into standing.
Yeah, so it's like I was about to sneeze. I went the wrong way up my nose.
Oh no, okay. I've got tissues, June, if we need them.
It was my. It's right.
Okay. It's a strange feeling. So the sneeze went
really
up
strange.
rather than out.
Yeah, but it wasn't a sneeze. It was just I don't know.
Just Just give yourself a moment if you need to. Now, what we were going to do in standing is our eagle legs balance. So I'm going to get you to do your arms first, which we did earlier. So if you take your arms wide and then give yourself, Judy, if you need whatever you need to do, just do. Yeah, take your arms wide. Can you give yourself a hug with your right arm on top? Because then you won't have to think about it. Right arm on top. And come on into our eagle arms. And then for our eagle arms balance, we bend our knees a bit. So yeah, if you look down at your feet, bend your knees a bit. And we're going to shift our weight onto our right foot. And we're going to be crossing the left leg over the right leg. And we're trying to stay long and tall in our body. It's very easy in this one to start to lean forwards. But you want to try and feel that your shoulders are over your hips. And just, can you have a few breaths here? And it's very interesting here because we're balancing on this bent knee. So it's sort of the muscles will have to work a bit more. Probably can't stay here for as long as a straight leg balance. So see if you can have another breath or two and then come out, have a little shake out. Oh, and then sort of, release everything, have a little shake out of arms and legs. And then settling down. I often find with this one, I start with my feet slightly wider apart. I don't know, it's something about the bent knees, maybe because we're crossing in the center. So let a breath come in, take your arms wide. Exhale, give yourself a hug with the left arm on top this time. And bring your arms on into eagle arms. So we've got the left arm on top and then we stand on the left leg. So we're bending our knees and then we're crossing the right leg over the left. Unless you did that last time, so obviously go on to the other side. Good. And if you're not feeling very steady, you could always keep your right big toe on the floor. And again, try to feel that you're upright, you're not leaning forwards, your shoulders are over your hips. You're letting your breath come in and leave. A couple more breaths if you can. Good, well done. Come down, have a little shake out. So you're going to find yourself a bit of either a sofa or a bed or a bit of wall space to sit against. And Judy, Jan, if you sit against the door, because we get, you put it,
Yes, that's fine.
Judy, you okay against that sofa? I thought that one might be more comfy, but if you're okay with that. Now, what you're going to do, make sure the back of your pelvis is right up against whatever you've sat against. And you've got a choice to start with. So, Judy, which is cobbler pose. You're either cobbler pose or your legs long and wide. And we're just going to have a few quiet breaths in our sort of chosen position. Yes, that would be good for you, Rachel. Legs long and wide. Legs long and wide or cobbler pose. So settle yourself down. And now remember that you've got the wall or the sofa to support your spine. So that is all sort of all that worry about having to, what's going on with the upper part of the body. We can just let ourselves rest back. But I would avoid, if you've got the wall behind you, I wouldn't let your head rest on the wall. I would try to feel that your head stays balanced on the top of your spine. And you let your shoulders drop. You can just rest your hands on your thighs. And maybe close your eyes. And gather your attention into your breathing. Feel the flow of the in and the out breath through your body. As you exhale, you can think about giving the weight of your legs and pelvis to the floor. And the heavier we can let our legs and pelvis feel, the more our spine can just release and grow upwards and the shoulders can soften. So I'd like you to just, feel 3 more cycles of breath in your chosen sitting position. If it's feeling uncomfortable, then you can swap to cobbler pose or legs wide, whichever one you're not doing. To see if it's possible to be aware of 3 cycles of breath. The breath coming in, the breath leaving you. had those 3 cycles of breath, I'd like you then just to think, what could you do to make your sitting position a bit more comfortable? So if you want to keep your legs long, maybe just bring them a little bit closer together. If you want to stay in bent leg position, then it might be you come to a cross-legged, or I would probably come to this sort of half lotus. Yeah, so just see what you can do to be as comfortable as possible, because we're going to focus a bit more on our breathing. And the first thing you're going to do is, I suppose, a sort of imagining things. So if we come back to the breathing we were doing, we're not going to move our hands now, but the breathing we were doing at the beginning, I'd like you to imagine as you breathe in, you're breathing in through both nostrils. But then as you exhale, imagine first of all that you're breathing out just through your right nostril. And then again, as you breathe in, you're breathing in through both nostrils. And then as you exhale, you're breathing out through your left nostril. So I'd just like you to do this for a couple more cycles of breath. So as you breathe in, you imagine you're breathing in through both nostrils, which indeed you are. And then as you exhale, you're imagining you're breathing out through just the right nostril. And then your next exhalation, you imagine you're breathing out just through the left nostril. And do that for two more cycles of breath. So you have that imaginary exhalation once more through each nostril, through the right and through the left. And then we're going to use our fingers to actually close our nostrils so that when we breathe out, we are indeed just going to be breathing out through one nostril. So I suggest you just use your index fingers in both hands, because when we breathe in, we can rest both hands down. You can use one hand and close both nostrils with that one hand. So if you know how to do that, you can do that. Otherwise, just ready yourself with your hands on your thighs. So you're going to breathe in through both nostrils. You don't need to do anything with your hands. Let the breath come in through both nostrils. And then you're going to close your right nostril with your right finger. And you're going to breathe out through your left nostril. Sort of long, quiet exhalation. And then rest your hand down and breathe in through both nostrils. At the end of the in-breath, close your left nostril with your left index finger and breathe a long, quiet out-breath through your right nostril. Rest your hand down and let the breath come in through both nostrils. Closing your right nostril, a long exhalation through your left nostril. Resting your hand, breathing in through both nostrils. And then closing your left nostril with your left index finger, exhaling through your right nostril. Resting your hand, breathing in through both nostrils. Closing your right nostril, exhaling through your left. Resting your hand down, breathing in through both nostrils. Closing your left nostril, exhaling through your right. I'd like you to carry on for 2 more cycles of breath. So you're just going to exhale through each nostril once more in your own time. And then when you finish, just returning to your natural quiet breathing. And then when you're ready, you can bring yourself to lie down on the floor. And I think we'll do a floor twist. Yeah. So you're going to lie down. If you need to put anything warmer on, I don't know, Jude, how are you with the windows open?
Happy.
Happy? Okay, good. We're all happy with windows open at the moment, aren't we? So if you lie down onto your backs and you can fold your knees, you could just arrive for a moment and then you could fold your knees into your chest, which feels quite nice. And then you can take your legs up to the ceiling. So we're going to just do, to finish, our very simple bit of breathing, but our very simple floor twist. So I like to do this one at the moment where I've got my legs up and then I wrap one arm around the back of my legs. And then the other arm comes on the floor at shoulder height. I think we did this last week at the end. And then you're taking your legs, because you know, down in the opposite direction to your arm. That's good. And I tend to just keep my arm under my legs. If your shoulder stays down, you can take your legs all the way to the floor. If you want to put a cushion under your legs or between your knees, you can. And just give yourself a few breaths there. And good, very nice. If anyone feels like a cushion, just let me know. Good. It might be helpful to let your head roll towards that outstretched arm, Jude. That's it, yeah, if that's comfortable for the neck. Yes, you could let your head roll towards your outstretched arm. That can sometimes help that shoulder feel a bit heavier on the ground. Give yourself a couple of cycles of breath. And whenever you want to move on to the second side of the twist, sometimes we want to stay there for a long time. At the moment, I'm quite keen on just having a few breaths and then coming up. Yes, time is moving on. So come back up, come back to the centre, bring your legs back up to the ceiling. That's what I like to do anyway, and then swap my arms over. So wrap your arm around the back of your legs so your legs are up a little bit. So you really bring your thighs close to your chest. Bring the other arm down at shoulder height, and then your knees are coming down in the opposite direction to your arm. Oh, nice, yes, sort of movement through our rib cage and our spine. Just have a few breaths on the side too. I'm thinking how nice that felt on the side too. And when you've had enough, you can come back to the centre and you can just settle down quietly. Rachel, if you'd like those lights off, you could see the push thing that presses them off. So just settle down onto your backs and we'll have, sort of kind of sitting and breathing, we'll just have maybe half a dozen or so quiet cycles of breath lying down. Just letting your body feel supported by the ground, so your knees can be bent or your legs can be long. You might like to rest your hands onto the front of your body. You might like to rest your arms onto the floor beside you. Letting your breath come in, letting your breath leave you. So thank you, everyone. Just take your time. There's no rush. You get home for dinner. So I'll just stop the recording. Thank you, everyone on Zoom as well. Oh yes, Otto's heard the bell. So.
Thank you, Kara.